Perfect. We are live. Yep. Live. Okay, I hope you guys don't hear my text up. Uh, I'm about 7 minutes late because of setting up the stream. The stream ran into an error. I thought I just had to click the go live button from my studio, but no, I had to also do it here. All right, perfect. Everything seems perfectly still. I don't know how to see the viewers. Let's wait for. I guess you guys can type in your questions. I'll be here for another 15 minutes. After that, I have to get back to work. Obviously, teaching Smile students, and yep, that's the plan. Let me know in the chat if you guys hear me well. Okay. type down any questions. Okay. Don't see any questions yet. And so let's talk about the exam a little bit. Obviously, the exam is consisting of 4 parts. There is the uh, speaking part, then the separate test is listening, reading, and writing. And for the speaking part, there are 3 parts on itself. Speaking part 1, 2, and 3. Then the reading is of 1 hour. Listening is about 30 minutes, roundabout. It depends on how long the audio is. Um, when it comes to writing, there are 2 parts, right? Task 1 and Task 2. Task 2 is more important, carries double the marks of Task 1. I always recommend all of my students to start with Task 2. Yeah, so that's the story so far. Let's see when the first question rolls in. Recently, what has been a main question? A student asked me if they can make up a story in IELTS speaking, and I believe that's a very common question. People think they always have to tell their own experiences, but obviously not everybody has every single experience. So if you come across a question that you have never really experienced, for example, someone asks you about space, you know, or another example could be a person who has never been to the zoo but gets asked about the zoo, or they ask you when was the last visit to the zoo. Either you have 2 options. You can make up a story. You can say, oh yeah, yesterday I went to the zoo. I saw a few animals, tigers, some chinchillas, or whatever you would like to add to that. Or you can, if you have never been to the zoo, you can say, I have actually never been to the zoo, and yet I would like to go, but never really got the chance. In my city, there are no zoos, so when I start traveling, I think my first bucket list is visiting a zoo. First on my bucket list is visiting a zoo. That could be an ideal answer. Speaking about part 1 in speaking. If I talk about the part 2, as you know, they give you a topic card and you have about 1 minute to prepare and then 2 minutes to speak on it. Um, Ideally, what you should do is prepare for 1 minute with that note with pencil, and what you need to do is put a vocabulary, that you think is useful for you to answer. Try to paraphrase the question. So, for example, if they ask you about your free time activity, your favorite free time activity, then you say, your answer you should rather say, my most liked free time activity is. So that could be one thing that you could do. Um, Apart from that, we have about two viewers join in right now. You guys, let me know if you have any questions. So yeah, after that, you should ideally speak 2 minutes on the speaking part two, trying to summarize all of the question, everything in the question, covering everything. Not drifting off the topic, so staying on the topic is very important as well. Um, what else? And then comes the speaking part three, where they expand on the speaking part two. They ask you more questions from within the topic of part two. So, for example, I give an example of the leisure time activities or free time activities. So they will ask you more about generic. Oh, so some people have a lot of hobbies, and there are some people who don't really have any hobbies. What do you think about this? And then you can give your opinion. Like, um, I would start this answer personally by saying, to each their own. That's a good question. There exists diversity of personalities in this society. So there are people who have a lot of hobbies, such as mountain climbing or swimming, or someone has the hobby of reading books, for example. But there is one person who just likes to sleep more when they get more chance, and their hobby is kind of like sleeping. And then there's another person who loves traveling and spends all their money saving up for traveling. So yeah, there's diversity and there's beauty in that. To each their own. So that could be an ideal answer as well. Um, yes, type in any questions, guys, you have. I see that there are 4 views so far. I don't know if that's concurrent viewers right now or that's 4 views. It's my first time streaming on this channel, so I'm not perfectly sure about how this works, but as we go forward, I'll get and I'll rewatch my streams to see if there are any errors with the sounds. If there are any errors with the sounds, please let me know as well. Okay, so moving forward, speaking about the exam, let's talk about the listening section because the exam follows the format of listening, reading, and writing. So L or W. The listening section is as long as the audio is. There are about 4 sections to it. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and Section 4. Section 1 is usually quite easy. They ask you to write down some names or streets. They even tell you the spellings. And when it comes to the section 2, section 3, there are some multiple choice questions and fill in the blanks, and yet section 4 is similar as well, where the two people are making a dialogue and you have to choose correct options about what they talked about, what they said, what their answers were. And they try to confuse you with some questions by giving an opinion prematurely and then later on changing it. For example, a person says, I will visit Miami this weekend, and then that person's wife says, no, 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 not Miami. I don't want to go to Miami this week. Too crowded. Let's go to Chicago. And then the person agrees, but in the end they went to New York. So that could be a joke on you if you chose Miami, or if you chose Chicago as your answers, because prematurely answering IELTS listening is wrong and it will get you nowhere. So always be patient enough for your correct answers. Sometimes the first answer is correct, so it's not that there's black and white rules. There are black and white rules, but yeah. So that's the thing with listening. Without delving more into it, let's go to the reading. And for reading, there are 3 sections divided into 13, 13, and 14 questions, or 14, 14, 12 questions. It can also be possible. Um, yeah. So reading, a lot of students find difficult, especially the academic students who are studying academic IELTS. Um, I understand the difficulty. A lot of people struggle with the time of it because there is 1 hour, 40 questions. That gives you 1 minute and a half for every question attempted, but it's not like this because some questions are quite easy and you can get them done in under 20, 30 seconds. So that saves up time for other questions. Yeah, there are some questions which will take you 1 minute, 2 minutes, or even 3 minutes to answer. So make sure that you are on the time track when you practice for the reading. Time yourself always, and that will help you to be better for the exam day. Be better ready for the exam day, and that is important. In reading, a lot of people struggle with the not given questions. So if we cover that, I would say that so for true, false, and not given, there are people who choose, for example, true for almost all of the answers. That's also wrong. Some people choose false and they say maybe this is a good strategy, but it's possible that there is no false answer here. Then there are a lot of people who don't really choose not given, which is wrong as well. So true is obviously the information that matches there, completely matches the question to the passage present. Mm, it doesn't have to be completely direct. For example, if they're talking about a high-rise building, they might say a skyscraper in the answer. And if they say, okay, Dubai has the biggest high-rise building, and in the answer they say, or in the passage they are saying that in the Middle East, present is the uh, largest skyscraper. Now, biggest high-rise building in Dubai or largest skyscraper in Middle East. The same information. So this is true. False would be if they said if they changed the region to Africa, or if they did not say the largest. If they said the second largest, that would be false because the information is changing. The information is there but changing. Um, and not given would be when if they did not talk about a high-rise building or if they did not talk about the Middle East. If any part of the key information is missing, that would be not given. Okay, and now what's left? Well, there are many other components in reading as well that I could cover, but let's wait for some people to ask any questions. I have not received any specific, but we have had 8 viewers so far, so that's we're going well. I'll also be testing the different times for going live because right now I went at in my local time 1 p.m. But usually I upload my videos by 6 on Saturdays, so maybe that could be a better time for going live. But I don't know. I need to test out different times and see when are most of you free to ask questions. There are a lot of you joining, but leaving at the start. I don't know what's wrong. If you cannot hear me, let me know. We have another concurrent viewer. Hello, welcome to the live. Let me know if you have any questions regarding your IELTS exam. I will be happy to answer. While the person summons up courage to ask a question, we will go to the writing. Well, as I was saying, that there are many more components in obviously listening and reading, but today we are not going to cover all of them. That's not the point of it. This is to answer any of your questions while you go for the exam. Uh, for writing, there are two parts. Uh, as I always say, writing task 2 is much more important, and task 2 carries double the marks of task 1. So make sure you start with task 2. And the first and foremost, everybody, you need to paraphrase the question. So if they're asking about, okay, parents and children are spending less and less time these days together because either they are in their phone screens or either parents don't have time for their children because of the workload. What do you think of this? What are some proposed solutions? That could be an ideal writing task 2 question. How you need to paraphrase this is, okay, you can say parents and their offsprings. For example, children can change to offsprings. Or you can say not spending enough time in each other's company due to various reasons, such as use of screens. So mobile phones can change to screens because that covers more of the devices. Or either you can say instead of workload, you can say they are overworked. Parents are overworked. So instead of saying that they have worked too much. And then that's the paraphrase part done. Then you give a little bit of your opinion saying, I do believe such is the case, for example. And a lot of people are confused if you can say in this essay I will be covering this or in I will not be covering this. That doesn't really matter. Your language matters, your grammar matters, your coherence matters, your vocabulary use matters, your punctuation matters, your vocabulary bank in writing definitely matters as well because you need to paraphrase a lot of things. You need to use a lot of synonyms to make sure that you are uh, writing well, writing academic level English, especially for the academic students, because that's, I would say, in my personal opinions, marked more strictly than the general training one. So, and then you start the first body paragraph. You elaborate further on what you mean by agreement to the question statement. So if you're saying that okay, this is happening, yes, parents are not able to spend enough time with their children due to various reasons, or children are not able to because of well, useless reasons. And then you're gonna expand on that, give more examples of what's happening in actual reality. You don't need to say, oh, university research or this says or that says. You can just talk in generic language mm, by giving real life examples. Like there are a lot of children who are into Pokemon, for example, and you can write the name Pokemon as an example, mm, and say that okay, children are spending 3 to 4 hours on that day, and then you can give some proposed solutions in the third paragraph where you say parents need to limit the screen time of children or not get them phones until a certain age, you not get them tablets, promote sports activities, and be involved with their sports activities themselves. And then now you can do a conclusion where you summarize your second and third paragraphs. And then you can say in conclusion, make sure to use linking words. There is a promotion that you should use at least 7 or more linking words in the task 2. So yeah, that was writing task 2, folks. So the maximum amount of concurrent people we have joined today were 2. I don't know if that's good or bad for a first stream, but I mean, it doesn't describe me. I will be here anyways. this stream. I'll make sure that it stays on the channel later, so I'll check on it. I don't know how long do streams last on YouTube because I know other platforms policies that they stay for a limited time. But I believe on YouTube it stays for, because it's a platform for videos, it stays as long as you need it. Let's wait for any further questions. Okay, someone else has joined us. If you have any questions about the S exam, let me know. Okay, anyways, meanwhile they summon up the courage to ask a question. We'll go to the writing task one, and let's talk about the two different ones because there is a difference of the writing task one in general training IELTS and then the academic IELTS. So, mm, well, there is a huge difference because let's talk about the general training one first. These are letters that you can send to people, and they want you to write it in a form of a letter, but not exactly a letter because you can even write it in the form of an email. Because you start with dear sir stuff, or dear one of your friends' names or whatever you want to address them by. And then you start with the letter. For example, a topic could be, okay, your friend's wedding is coming up and you need to apologize that you cannot attend on the first day, but you will attend on the after party the second day, and the stage of reasons. So that could be one, and you need to write it in a letter form. It's not so difficult, and as I said, it's not marked as strictly as for the academic. If I talk about the writing task one for the academic, a lot of people get confused because they think it's a scientific thing, or it's charts or statistics or it's maps and diagrams. So confusing. It's not. Whatever is listed in English. For example, there is a map of the same place twice. One in 10 years ago, one 10 years ago, and one now. And you need to look at the differences. What has happened on the map 10 years ago and what is happening on it now. And then what you can do is you can state the differences, summarize, and report the main features. That's how they phrase the question. So let's say a building that was there was removed, or a new place was put on the map, then you need to make sure that you report it in your writing. And you need to, in this one, you need to write 150 plus words compared to 250 plus words for the task 2. So this is basically your task 1 for academic. Similarly, for task 1 of writing for general, you also need to write more than 150 words. Okay, so we talked about all of the parts of IELTS. Now I will just wait for a little more time. If anyone has any questions, I will just answer them and we will end it there. Since I did not receive any main questions, I'm not sure if this is the best time for it. So I will try to test different times for the stream and see if I receive more questions in another time. But you can later on also comment, I believe, or I'm not sure if you can leave a comment or not. You can leave any comment on any of my other videos and I will answer you for that too. regarding IELTS, of course. Yeah, I'll just mention my IELTS Instagram as well, so you can go have a follow or leave me a message if you have any questions regarding the exam. All right, everybody. I'll end the stream in about 2 minutes. So if anybody's here waiting for any questions or waiting for other people to ask questions, don't wait for other people to ask questions. You should try and initiate a question so I can just mainly answer. Another thing I'm confused about, if any of you know, because it says stream help is where, I don't know why. For okay, currently keyframes. Okay, I'll fix the keyframe stuff. All right, everybody. I believe that's it for. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more IELTS content, like the video, and share with anybody who is practicing for the exam. And I'll be here to help. Thank you, and take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one.